and Riggs is 6th, then I don't think he'd care too much. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I might be making it sound easy right now, but he's got 3 cars in between. If he has to let one go just to keep his nose clean and keep out of trouble, then I don't think he'll be too bothered about that. It's obviously he's in a position now where Riggs has all the hard work to do, isn't he? Because Riggs needs to make up the positions and overtake him if he wants to keep this championship fight going.
Yeah, definitely. Right then, they're lining up on the grid. Should be about to go.
Will we actually be able to see anything down this turn 1 with all of the spray coming off the car?
Yeah, we'll see. Probably not. Alright, 4, 5. Okay, they can't hear the lights, but they're out. And away we go then. It looks as though Sem's had a very good start, and Brindy's got bogged down there, James, as Dylan and Chet pull either side of him. Rigsy as well further back, not getting the best of starts, as McEwen and Bennett are coming through, as well as the camera decides to take a very long time to switch, as it's Sem then into the lead through turn 1, and then it's Dylan and Chet going side by side through turns 2 and 3, as Brindy then gets himself clean through in 4th. Rigsy's down to 9th, battling with Liam for P8, but he's had a pretty poor start, James.
Yeah, he has.
Lost out a couple of positions, but, well, his saving graces Brindy has as well, but it's Bennett as well, with a very nice start up to 5th. Getting a little bit loose there out of turn 5, and McEwen having a little look, but just not able to find an avenue past then in these early exchanges. Padre's had a nice start as well from the back of the field, up to 9th already, as Brindy's gotten his way alongside Czech as they go through the S's. Cheers for the fantastic camera angle Codemasters, but Brindy has gotten up then into 3rd, got the move done, which is pretty important in these early exchanges.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on the back of the field heading down into turn 1. Rigsy just got a pretty poor launch initially, and then found himself on the outside into turn 1, and we had Liam, who actually went up his inside and gained a place, but he's now dropped 4 positions since then, back down to P12, and then yeah, Riggs just didn't get the best of launches and found himself kind of boxed out a bit on the outside. But it looks like he might be trying to make a move here on Jason. Obviously time is on his side, but he'd like to get the moves done early on. This is actually Padre going down his inside, so Riggs is now down another position. Harry, obviously we'll have to wait for the timing to sort stuff out to see. I think it's P9, but
yeah, Jason just getting past Bennett as well, and now Padre's going for it as well on Bennett. So Padre with another position gain there, up to 7th now as the McLaren driver, having a fantastic start to this race. Then that's now, what's that, 7 positions gained already for him, if we can see there. Yeah, 7 places, so that's a fantastic start.
Seems to have
for the McLaren driver.
Rigsy conditions at the start.
Rigsy and Bennett down 3, which is weird because Bennett had such a great start. And then has just lost all those positions since, but it's Sem then still out in the lead, nearly 8 tenths to Dylan, although it's just come down a bit since then. But this is a crucial phase of the race, I think, for Brindy. He's just got to try and keep his car on the track, because Rigsy's got, well, he's got a lot of cars in between himself and Rigsy, which is putting him in a very nice position at the moment. Speaking of Rigsy, he might be in a position here, as I get the telemetry up, to go for a move on Bennett into turn 1, but again, just making no gains really without that DRS down into turn 1. Nothing there. It would suggest he could go for a move then down into turn 1, but Bennett's quite slow through 2 and 3, so this might give the Renault an opportunity down into turn 4 as we go to the off-board camera to get a bit of a better view as he pulls out then to have a look down into turn 4, which he does, gets up on the inside, and Bennett backs out rather kindly really didn't try to hold it on the inside for 5, and Riggsy gets his way through then up into P8, but he's already quite a long way behind Brindy.
Oh,
There's still a
McEwen's gone.
very long way to go, as McEwen has gone. Jason gets a time penalty for corner cut, and McEwen has gone. He's come back on the track, kind of around Riggsy, and he's spun
That's
now.
a big crash. Bennett's out.
He's been collected by Bennett. Bennett's retired. There's a safety car. What on earth just happened there? Bennett's out. Then McEwen, I think, must have some pretty significant damage. Does he? No, it doesn't look like he's got any damage.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Lewis is missing half of his front wing. I think Locke is just about okay as well. Liam looks fine. Preds looks alright. So I think it was basically just Lewis there getting the damage. But what happened there, James?
Yeah, McEwen lost it through, I think turn 9. Tried to catch it, did well to hold it, and then, yeah, just kind of came back onto the track right in the firing line, and Riggsy, bit of contact with Riggsy, and yeah, found himself sort of half spin in the middle of the track, and then either Bennett just didn't see him or couldn't react in time, but yeah, smacked into the side of him. He was out on the spot, and then Lewis, I think, as well, hitting Bennett as well. So Bennett got a couple whacks from either direction, and yeah, he was out on the spot. Lewis with a bit of damage, of course, as you're saying. Yeah, I think McEwen, not his finest moment, if I'm being honest there.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty bad look for Bennett then, to be out of this race.
Wrong place, wrong time for sure.
Yeah, we'll go to a more positive note then. That's Padre, who's at 8th from where he started now into 6th. So he's had a fantastic start to this race. Elite as well in the Haas, James, up 5. So those two really making the gains at the start. Jason as well is up 3. So that's a good start for him.
Perez is doing his usual, holding back at the start and gaining places from others' misfortune, as he so often does.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the one out of anyone, or out of everyone here, Brindy's probably the driver that's the most annoyed about this, because he had
He was about
a fair few seconds of gap Padre's nearly just lost it under the safety car and gone into the pits there. And Riggsy snuck through. I don't know whether he's going to be allowed to keep that position.
I think that,
or whether Padre's going to have
was
be
Padre
allowed to
in
take
the
that
pit
one
lane?
back. He was off the track. He was in the pit entry.
If he was,
so I think Riggsy might have been allowed to just take that position.
If he was out of the white lines, then Riggsy would get away with that. That's,
so opportunistic
in,
there from Riggsy.
We saw that at Imola, didn't we? In the
yeah.
Whoa, is Patrice now hitting?
Oh, with Perez, wasn't it?
Yeah, Perez. Yeah.
Oh, and they've both, I think, gotten penalties for that as well, James.
Well, Padre definitely has.
Yeah, Rigsy's just got one.
Yeah, he has.
As well,
yeah,
so,
that's pretty poor driving, isn't it?
Yeah, I wonder,
to be honest,
I wonder what that was about.
Just an unnecessary collision, and Padre is adding to his penalty count.
But it's a weird one though, James, because he made a fantastic start to the race, and then under the safety cars where he makes the mistake, that then loses him a place.
If you make a mistake and you go off
hits
on
the
the
back of
safety
Riggsy.
car, you are not allowed to retake those positions.
Yeah.
It's the same on the game
I
as it is in real life, isn't it?
I don't know whether that was frustration or just a bit of a mix-up there, but he's ended up hitting Riggsy and losing number plate. Safety cars in this
I'm
lap.
guessing he's obviously just a bit frustrated that he's made a mistake, and he obviously feels as though he should be getting the place back, and he's maybe just a bit flustered by that, and just a bit of unnecessary contact there, and it's kind of ruined both of their races. Obviously it's still early days, but that's not going to help Riggsy at all, is it, in trying to prolong this championship fight?
Right then, we'll go to Sem. Not seen too much of him so far this race, but he's done pretty much everything perfectly, apart from that restart as he loses the back end quite a lot out of the final corner, and Dylan's going to have a good run on him down into turn 1. So it's everything's been gone right for Sem so far. not anymore, as Dylan's now, it's a drag race down into turn 1. Dylan's got the faster straight line speed and the inside line, but Sem's going to try and hang it around the outside. He's going to have the inside for 2. Dylan's trying to hold it, and then we'll have the inside for 3, and he's been spun. I don't know whether that was contact from Brindy behind or contact with Sem at the side, but checks. Dylan's been spun. Checks now up to 3rd. Riggsy, I think, was having a little look at Jason but couldn't get past. But yeah, was that with Brindy or Sem there, James?
I didn't actually see, to be honest. I was on board with Dylan. But yeah, Brindy with damage now, missing his left end plate. So all of a sudden, it could be back to advantage Riggsy for this race anyway. But
Jason's gone off as well, James, through the S's, and that's going to give Riggsy another position there. He was putting him under pressure, and just a bit of a mistake there from Jason has allowed Riggsy then back to 4th. So it shows how quickly a race can really be swung on its head.
Looks like Brindy's still got really good pace, actually.
Yeah, I wonder if he made the contact with Dylan then, if he's lost some of his wing.
No, it was after, when Dylan was spun around.
Was it? Okay.
He kind of T-boned the side of him. But yeah, another kind of unavoidable collision. But he's actually gaining on Sem, despite that left end plate being completely gone. So yeah,
that might be helping him.
maybe not advantage Riggsy then. It's all chopping and changing so quickly, isn't it? Predator's up to P7. Jason's in the pit.
Don't know whether that was intentional or not, James.
I think he might have
he's ended up in the pits.
He might have got caught up in that collision. There was a bit of a domino effect after Brindy hit the side of Dylan, so I think Jason might have been caught up in that as well.
Yeah, so now Preds is up into 7th. Elite's now up 8. He's had a pretty good start to the race, hasn't he? He's got Liam though. Yeah, he's got Liam on his back. So this is a battle going on between these guys for P5. It is McEwen as well as come back into play as well.
Yeah, these two just glided under the safety car on the restart as well, so I didn't actually catch what happened there. But yeah, both of these guys with 5-second penalties as well. So 4, 5 and 6 all with 5-second penalties that they will have to serve when they come into the pits.
Yeah, I think Brindy hasn't quite got the pace to hang out with Sem because Czech started to close that gap. Riggsy as well is closing into Brindy, but not really to Czech. Their gap staying around the same, about a second. Liam then really pushing Elite through this middle sector by those things as we go back to this battle then that's going on for P5. And look at this, they're forming a little bit of a train behind, which I'm sure the top 4 won't be complaining too much about because it gives them an opportunity to pull away. I said Sem had done everything right up until that point. Obviously, kind of didn't really pay the price for his poor restart, as he's maintained the lead whilst Dylan spun. He's got a pretty healthy gap to Brindy behind, who has got wing damage. So then who's got the straight line speed as we head down into turn 1? It's going to be Liam, I think, to get up to 5th ahead of Elite. Preds is trying to join in on this action as well, but he's got McEwen now trying it round the outside of 2, which turns the inside for 3, and McEwen does get the move done as now Riggsy has got past Czech for P3.
Did that move comfortably before the braking zone even, I think.
Despite being a second back as we cross the start-finish line. So that's pretty... I wonder if Czech's made a mistake there. So Prez has lost that position to McEwen, but it's not the end of the world as these guys are all still in a bit of a train here, as Liam then as well making a move on Elite to get up to P5. So Liam as well had a very good start to this race, has the Alpha Tauri driver, and this is going to be an interesting one, I think, James, as we see Riggsy. Can he close up to Brindy and make the move as we got a Haas round? And that was Elite, I think, into the as well, just behind Liam. He lost the back end through the S's. Has he got damage, James? I don't know if you can see that.
I'm trying to have a look. I'm not getting the best camera angles. Let's check. Yeah, left end plate is gone. Riggsy's in the fastest lap of the race. I think the big thing for Brindy now is he will need to change his wing in the pit stops, but it will be whether he can keep Riggsy behind and then change his wing, and obviously Riggsy with that penalty that will kind of even itself out. But if he changes his wing, will he find the pace that he will need? Because It looks like Riggsy's flying at the moment, quickest man out on track, as although Jason just sets the fastest lap on his fresh tyres. It's kind of hard to tell where everyone is a bit, because obviously you've got a few guys that have pitted. Dylan's after his spin pitted, and yeah, he's a long way back. He needs a safety car to get back into this race. But yeah, Sam still continues to lead the way, and it's increasing that gap to Brindy now.
Yeah, you can't help but think really that what's his face? Czech. There we go. That's his name. Czech is in the net P2 position. Then
He doesn't look like he's got the
does
pace,
change
though,
his
does
wing.
it?
It doesn't, but I mean, these guys will probably be coming into pit in 9 laps time, something like that. So if he can keep within 5 of Rigsy and 5 of Brindy,
It does look like there's quite a bit of
get those places back.
quite a bit of a dry line emerging actually. If the rain maybe eases off a little bit, do you reckon
think we
could
might see inters?
Yeah, maybe we could. Check actually moving off of the dry line on the straight, maybe to try and cool his tyres down a little bit.
Tyres, yeah, it could be.
Because I doubt he'll have been
Racing's
picking
within
up a slipstream
4
from 3 seconds back on Riggs.
tenths of Brindy. Yeah, Rigsy right on the back of Brindy now. I don't think he's going to be close enough on this occasion to make a move. And he's using quite a lot of his battery as well as Rigsy. I think he's really pushing. Sem's got his lead now up to nearly 3 seconds. So I think he's just showing what that extra downforce that having a complete front wing gives you.
McEwen on the back of
Excuse
Liam
me.
as well for P5. Harry might see a move relatively soon. Predator's sticking with these two nicely as well. Could be seeing
Liam
another
losing the back end.
Predator's special here. Another.
Oh, we
Ooh.
got Ferrari gone. Czech's gone. So we've completely jinxed him. There you go. You see his car there at the entry,
And he has rejoined
or at
very
the exit of the
nicely
first
as well.
S. Yeah, he has, but that's obviously put him on the back foot. Drops down to P9, that is, which is a real shame because he'd had a good start to the race at Czech. I guess the one thing that does do now though is it eases the pressure off of Rigsy and Brindy rather significantly, as even if they were to serve their penalty and change their wing respectively, they'd still be coming out in a net P2 and 3. Can McEwen then do anything about that AlphaTauri in front of him as he's in the slipstream down towards turn 1? He's closing the gap down, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. Can Rigsy do anything about that? Williams ahead of him down into turn 4. I think again the answer's going to be no.
I'll tell you what though, Harry, this is great, isn't it, for the viewing, for the championship fight as well. Obviously Riggs wouldn't have wanted that 5-second penalty, but the fact that obviously Brindy's got a bit of damage and Riggs has a penalty, so they're going to be still right with each other after the pit stops. I can see this battle sort of going right to the end of the race at this rate.
Oh, we've got Lewis
between these two.
Clock battling it out side by side. They are through 5 and 6, and Clock's trying to hold it around the outside for 7 as well, which he has. He's now got the inside for 8. Is he going to try and hold it down the inside? In fact, he's going to send it down the inside. Contact between them as they try to leave room, but in these wet conditions it is so difficult. Fair play to the pair of them for continuing on basically from where they left off side by side through the rest of the S's, but Clock then does get the move done and up to 7. But Lewis isn't giving this up. He's going to try it, I think, down the inside as we head into the stadium as he goes for the move, and he's going to get it done, I think, is the Racing Point driver. So he holds, he got a bit of pace then. But this battle's really cost them a lot. Preds is now 5 seconds up the road and on the back of McEwen, who's on the back of Liam, and possibly going for a move down into turn 1 is the Haas driver.
Yeah, this one's been coming for a few
from
laps
the
now.
slipstream. It has, as you say, been coming, and it was a pretty easy move when it came down to it then for the Haas driver up to 4th after that spin. So it's a pretty good recovery from McEwen as it stands. The question is now, James, as the pit window is about to open in maybe 3-4 laps time, if it is going to dry out and the rain get a bit lighter, do you think it's worth these guys sticking it out to the inters? But I mean, we don't know if it is going to become intermediate conditions. Otherwise, you'd probably say they want to pit and try and get an undercut. But as it stands, with it looking like the rain's a bit lighter at this stage of the race, it could be worth sticking it out for the Inters, don't you think?
Yeah, it could potentially. I'd probably be on the radio to Jeff at this point, wanting to know how long this heavy rain's gonna last. Because if he says about 20 minutes, then yeah, go for an undercut, go onto those wet tyres again, and then hope it does dry up enough towards the end of that stint for you to go into to the end. But I think if you can get an undercut in the wet, especially, you really do want to try and do that. So yeah,
Yeah.
if this heavy rain is gonna continue on, then yeah, for sure, get another set of wets on and try and get the undercut on the guys in front. Predators could be making a move on Liam here, Harry. P5 down to turn 1.
I was going to say, I think Liam's perhaps, as he tries it around the outside, is he going to get it done?
Inside for the next
No,
corner.
he's not. Liam's going to defend it, and they're going to carry on side by side for 2 and 3, but Liam has the inside for 3 and keeps it ahead for now, but I think Pred's, he's not giving this one up without a fight, but just not got the straight line speed to get past the AlphaTauri into turn 4. So Liam defending well and holds on to that position for now, as Dylan's now retired in the pits, which is a shame to see because he obviously had some good pace. I think McEwen as well, I wouldn't say Liam's the bottleneck, but I think Pred is probably a bit faster than him as well, but McEwen already nearly 3 seconds ahead of these guys, and he hasn't really closed in on Riggsy and Brindy, to put that into context. So I think he was definitely a bit faster than Liam, but that's probably to be expected considering McEwen was running in and around P4 at the start of the race anyway.
It will
Liam,
be
a bit lower. Obviously he's benefited from various incidents and keeping his nose clean.
it will be really interesting to see actually what happens when Brindy and Riggsy picks. If Riggsy does try the undercut, if he can get
I think he's going for it, James.
if he can get himself ahead of Brindy, then Brindy would
Oh no, Dylan's retired car is getting in the way a bit. Yeah, sorry James, I was worried there was going to be a bit of a kerfuffle there. I think we've got on away with it. Both these guys have basically no battery as well, which is interesting, James, because normally Mexico's not too bad for the battery, and in the wet it's a hell of a lot easier to save it, so that's an interesting one. I think it shows how hard these guys are pushing. I mean, you've got to say hats off to Brindy for defending at the moment with the wing damage. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Riggs can get past him, how much of an advantage he can gain. But
I think that would make for a good story for this race. If Riggs can get past him, if he can take the penalty and undercut and get ahead of Brindy, who's I should think going to change his wing, then Brindy it looks like he's probably as quick as Riggs at the moment. So yeah, maybe he won't change his wings. I'm sure that's what you were about to say, because he's keeping the Renault driver at arm's length at the moment, isn't he? So yeah, maybe.
My thinking is, if Riggsy pits early and serves his penalty, Brindy comes in the next lap. If he changes his front wing, chances are he'll be undercut. So if and he's keeping him behind at the moment. So my thinking is, if Brindy just doesn't change his wing, he's going to come out 5 seconds ahead of Riggsy.
Yeah.
And then, even if Riggsy closes that gap down, I mean, he can't get past him, can he? So surely, if you're Brindy, it makes sense at this moment in time to not bother changing your front wing, because I mean, while McEwen's gained, as Riggsy's having a little look, but just nothing doing there. As McEwen's gained about half a second to these guys in the sort of 3 or 4 laps since he got past Liam. But I mean, he's not going to close that gap down before the end of the race, is he? So I think Brindy, to be honest, he's really got to be thinking about not bothering to change that wing. Liam has pitted. He's kind of the first of those that haven't kind of been forced to pit to do so. Come out in P10, so he's looking to try and get back ahead of Preds, or keep ahead of Preds, I think it was, with a bit of an undercut on him. I'm sure Preds will be trying to do the overcut and do the opposite.
Liam will have served that 5-second penalty, of course, as well.
Ah, of course, yes. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, that will have obviously put him
But
on the back foot a little.
actually, interesting that Liam's pitted so early, isn't it? Lap 14, I think, end of 14 he pitted. Well, with the safety car as well, so maybe suggesting that suggests to me that the one stop's going to be a little bit of a stretch here. He's only done 14 with the safety car. I guess maybe he might be needing the inters, or although having said that, most of these guys are going quite a bit longer than what Liam did.
Yes, it's definitely an interesting one. I don't entirely know what the tyre wear's like around here as Czech comes into pit as well, so that's the second driver in. I don't entirely know what the tyre wear's like in the wet around here, but with that safety car, do you think there's any chance that opens up the window of possibility for a no stopper here? I'd be very surprised.
I think
it has to be said.
Based on the fact that we've already seen a few guys into the pits, I'd say it's probably unlikely that a no stop will be possible. Yeah, I mean 14, 15, 16 laps in, guys are pitting for a new set of wets. So yeah, it seems pretty unlikely to me for anyone to be able to go all the way to the end.
Yeah, we've got Southerners in the chat. He wants Riggs to get this move done so that he can stay as the reigning Division 1 champ for another week. So there you go. If there wasn't already as he's pitting, then so Riggs pulls the trigger and is going to attempt an undercut here, I think. So yeah, if there wasn't already a reason for Riggs to try and get this move done, there's added incentive there. Although, without trying to be too rude, I'm not sure that will necessarily be on the top of Riggs's agenda. As he comes out the pits then, having served that 5-second penalty. He's going to come out, I think, in... Oh, that's crucial. Behind Jason and Lewis.
That could be big, yeah.
That's pretty important, I think, because he's going to be stuck behind them for a lap or two, I think. McEwen has obviously pulled 5 seconds on Riggs as he's not had to serve a penalty. Lewis is getting very loose out of turn 3, nearly losing the car, but Riggs gotten past him then, so that's one out of the way. And Jason's been showing some pretty strong pace so far.
Quick in the wet in Singapore as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he'll hold Riggs up too much, but yeah, McEwen's really pulled that gap down then, as he obviously didn't have to serve any sort of time penalty. And what's happened to Sem? Because he had 6 seconds. He's got a puncture, James.
Yeah, front left.
He's got a puncture. How on earth has Sem got a puncture this early on in the race? That is crazy. The tyre wear must be through the roof. So Sem's going to limp into the pits. Brindy's closed that 6 second, I repeat, 6 second gap it was, down to 1.
I think fortunately for Sem, with the other guys...
Brindy is changing his wing.
I think with the other guys obviously having their issues with the penalty for Riggs and the wing change for Brindy, Sem is just about going to get away with
He's
that.
going to get away with it,
I'm sure that would have been a bit of a pretty high-mouth moment when he got that puncture.
Well, the thing is now, though, James, that's going to raise concerns because they had a safety car for 2 or 3 laps as well. So Sem's only driven, 14 laps and has gotten a puncture. So are they going to make it to the end? I mean, it could have been one of those where he literally hit 76% and, bang, that was the puncture.
But even so, there's
going to be that. That's going to be in the back of his mind. That's going to be in the back of his mind as he gets, to lap 34, lap 35. Could he get another puncture? Because, he could have very easily lost the car there through that middle sector as well, which is where he got it. Fair play for not. In other news, Riggsy's got the jump then on Brindy, but he's still behind Jason. And McEwen's really closed this gap down as well. So McEwen's now possibly in this fight for P2 it is as well. Riggsy with that time penalty, which could be important later on in this race. Can he get past Jason though and put a car in between himself and Brindy? I think that'll be pretty important for Riggs's race if he can do so. As he's going to absolutely send it round the outside of Jason, turning in very early for the corner there, and Jason has spun, and now Brindy's right back on the back of Jason, and I think McEwen's been caught up in that a little bit as
Yeah, that
well.
was
I'm not sure if he got damaged. Yeah, he has. He's lost an end plate, McEwen.
Jason rejoining the track a bit too eagerly there, I think. We'll put it like that and make of that.
Well, yeah, Jason's. I mean, this race hasn't been short of incidents, has it? I mean,
No,
it's kind of the same as Japan. For only 14 drivers, it's had quite a lot of action. Now we've got Brindy then, right on the back of Riggs. Yeah, you can't help but feel that this is definitely Brindy's to lose at this point. I think we most likely are going to be seeing Brindy crowned champion today. If not, as he hits the back of Riggs there.
Oh yeah, Riggs has a penalty, doesn't he? But I mean, if Brindy was to pick up a penalty, he could just sit behind him. He'd lose 3 points to him, and Riggs would need to outscore him by about 20 odd points next week, wouldn't he? So,
well, yeah, and I mean, to be honest, I think if Jason sends that in, there'll be a penalty coming Riggs' way for that as well. So I think Brindy probably can afford to just sit behind Riggs.
He'd make for a pretty boring race though, wouldn't it? If for the next 17, 18 laps he just sits behind him. I hope he doesn't.
Well, and knowing Brindy, I don't think he's going to do that. I think he'll want to try and... Well, he'll want to try and win this race first and foremost. I think that's going to be a tall order, considering as Lewis has crashed and retired, and we've got a safety car. To be honest, if you're Sem, is it worth pitting just to make sure you don't get another puncture? I don't know. But yeah, we got another safety car then. That's helped Clock out massively, James, who's actually stayed out up until this point. As Liam's got a drive-through for speeding under the safety car. Yeah, Clock gets a pit, so he's in a nice position. Jason, in fact, interestingly enough, James, is on the mediums. Mediums? The inters.
Yeah, not sure in there. Everyone's scoring points
so I
now
wonder if
they finish.
I wonder if either the track is ready for the inters, or if he's just going for a bit of a gamble, obviously, of the situation he got put in. He is staying out, so maybe he feels it is. Yes, as you say, all 10 drivers then. We've only got 10 left, so everyone will be getting points if they finish. That's the second safety car we've had this evening. This one caused just by Lewis losing it on his own, unfortunately, as opposed to any sort of incident. I mean, yeah, if you're Sem, you might consider pitting just to make sure the tyres last. I don't know.
Clock will be in, obviously, won't he? But yeah.
Yeah, Clock will be in.
Sem would be not handing the win to Brindy, but giving Brindy a massive boost, wouldn't he, if he pitted? I'd be surprised if he did.
James. Yeah, everyone that did pit there went for the inters now. Sem's staying out. So maybe it was just one of those sort of freak occurrences with the tyres. Yeah, everyone's staying out then, apart from Clock, who's pitting. I'll tell you what, Pred's just used that safety car to pit as well, and I think he's going to come out in P4, James.
No, Pred's was in this position anyway.
Oh yes, of course he was. But I think he... I think it might have helped him...
Clock on the inters.
Anyway, yeah, Clock is on the inters, so it maybe does suggest that it is that crossover period between the inters and the... I'll tell you what, James, if it really is the inters, Clock is in a fantastic position.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll be a pit stop ahead.
Yeah, if he can catch up
a pit stop ahead.
If he can catch up a bit here anyway, he'll come out in the lead if these guys pit for the inters.
I mean, these guys will be able to pit and probably come out ahead of Liam this lap, if just about.
It does look like it could be inters,
it could be worth it. It really could be. Let's go on board with Preds as he catches up to the safety car. I mean, there is a lot of standing water off of that racing line, but actually on the racing line, you can see very clearly that there is a drier line. But it's a difficult one, I think, because it's going to be quite a high risk. Whoa, what is going on with Preds there? Massive lag spike.
Maybe just clipping something.
Yeah, Possibly. I mean, heart in mouth there. I thought he was sending it into a wall for a moment. Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those high risk, high reward situations, because I think as soon as you go off of the drier line, on these wet, if you were on the inters, sorry, you're going to be in a spot of bother, I think. You know, I'm with Clock on this one. I'm hoping that this is an inspired strategy call, and that he can use this to his advantage and get himself into a podium, if not race winning position. Of course, he did a fairly similar strategy in Japan. He stayed out long, waited for the safety car to turn up. He didn't pit under the safety car actually, and stayed out on the mediums that he was on, whereas most went for the softs, and it played into his hands perfectly to get a P2. I mean, even if it isn't into straight away, James, if it is in 5 laps time, I mean, he's not going to lose 20 seconds in 5 laps.
No.
So, I can't help but feel that Clock is in a very good position here. I think Jason inadvertently has also found himself in a pretty good position. Obviously, kind of forced into pit, you might say, after that contact with Riggsy. But I think he might have ended up actually in a decent position anyway, because I'm not sure he would have pitted otherwise.
I've seen his name pop quite a few times at the bottom of the screen.
I'm not sure that's going to be the be-all and end-all anyway, to be honest, James.
Strategy, he's found himself in a very nice position. It does look like it could be Inters, doesn't it, though? I mean, obviously behind the cars,
it's difficult to say. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, like, with Clock now, there's a lot of spray still, and not much of a dry line. But I think if you're in a bit of clean air, well, let's just go to Jason now and see. I mean, he's been pushing this lap, James, and is 2 seconds down on his best. I mean, he's got all his battery back, but you're not going to gain 2 seconds from using a bit of overtake, are you?
Not in yet, though, is it? I mean, it might be a little early, but if it does dry up in the next sort of 3 or 4 laps, I think it'll be fine.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like I say, you're not going to lose 20 odd seconds unless it's not Inters for another 10 laps or something. Because yeah, Jason's 2.5 seconds then near enough off of his personal best. So it's getting there. It's definitely getting towards Inters. I think it's not quite Inters then at this stage, but if it does become intermediate weather, then I think Clock and Jason are going to find themselves in a pretty nice position here. But it's all going to depend, because they're going to have less grip on this restart. I mean, they might struggle to slow it down for turn 1 a bit. We'll have to wait and see. That could be a little bit messy. But Sem then, who's led pretty much the whole of this race, had a puncture. Had, I think by the sounds of things, some sort of incident with Dylan. I don't know for sure though. Had a 6-second lead, went down to 1, went back up to about 5. Is now down to under 1 because of the safety car. I'm sure he'll be pretty annoyed if he doesn't end up winning this race, though, it has to be said, after the advantage that he had. He's obviously being helped out with the safety car in terms of tyres, but, well, we saw he got a puncture at the end of the first stint, so that will definitely be playing on his mind, I think, as we get to the closing stage of this race, if these guys don't pit again. Safety car is in this lap then. We've got 10 drivers left. We've got 14 laps. It'll be 13 once we cross the line to the finish here. And, well, if you look, as we're on board with Sem, I mean, it looks Inters out front, but we'll go to like Clock. I mean, look at the difference in visibility from Sem to Clock. We'll go then to Sem on the off-board camera for this restart. See if he can get a bit of a better one than last time.
Well, Clock
he lost the lead momentarily last time, as he's done it again. He's done it again.
Oh no, it didn't
happened
look good
in Singapore.
It's
happened in Mexico. Clock has lost it on the safety car restart.
He was going really slowly as well out of the hairpin, so I'm not sure if that was to do with the delta or what, but yeah, then just put his foot down a bit too much, and yeah, just went. I think, if I can get my words out, I still think it's a bit too early for the Inters, to be honest. Jason's losing time.
Sems kept the lead then from Riggsy. Brindy was challenging into turn 1 but couldn't get the move done. Preds is trying to keep touch with these guys, but he's got 3 seconds back to Liam. Yeah, Jason, he's not... yeah,
Oh, he's lost half a
too
second
slow.
already in about 3
Yeah,
corners.
he's not too slow, but he's quite a lot slower than the wet compound runners then, so we'll go to check and see. I wouldn't be surprised if it is Inters by the end of the race though, James. Has Clock got damaged? Because he's going very slowly. Yeah, he has. Has he got damage?
No, he pitted and put on
No.
It
Oh,
might
did
be
he
Inters
pit?
already, no. I mean, having said Jason lost about half a second in 3 or 4 corners, all of a sudden the gap has come right back down and he seems to be finding time all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, I think McEwen might have just gotten past Liam there.
As Liam is in, I think this could be
By the
for
way, he's
Inters.
up to 5th. Yeah, it might just be the crossover then. That's an interesting one. Riggsy is going for the move into turn 1 as he's having a look at Sem, but can't get it done on this occasion. Check, I think, is going to get the move done on Jason, is he? Let's go to that as they're going side by side through turn 3. Or turn 2, sorry. Check had the inside for turn 3 and got the move done, but Jason's coming back at him and Check's lost the car on the traction and has put it in the wall, and Elite gets through as well, so that's a big mistake from Check after that spin earlier on. Jason then on these intermediates, it's very close to the intermediates if it isn't time for them. Riggsy's got the lead as well. That must have been out of turn 3 then, down into turn 4. I can't think where else he would have got it. And now Sem has got Brindy Boy down the inside as they go into the stadium. Leaves a lot of room, does Sem, but Brindy's still going to try it round the outside. This is going to be a big move if he can get it done at the hairpin. And no, he hasn't, and he's been tagged. Bit of contact there, front left to side pod. Brindy in a half spin, but not losing out massively, but got sent into a half spin. Now Preds is up to 3rd and on a bit of a charge. He's having a very good race, staying out of trouble and really getting the rewards at the moment.
Yeah, Brindy, I thought he wouldn't be taking many unnecessary risks, but obviously didn't want to let Riggs get too far down the road. He's all over the place now, seems to be really struggling. Jason looking in a very good position once again on the intermediate tyres.
Yeah, Sem's not really. Well, I'm trying to work it out because Sem obviously had such good pace at the start, but Preds is keeping him very honest here. Gaps, around a second, so he's he's in a good position here.
Yeah,
Preds.
I don't want to speak too soon, but 10 laps to go, and yeah, Preds in a great position, isn't he?
I think Mexico, a track where penalties.
He's always been well out
avoiding penalties. Yeah, it's always been a good track for that reason. I think
massively wide out of turn 12.
McEwen's on a bit of a charge as well, James. On the back of Brindy now is the Haas driver. Jason is up to 6th. I wonder if he's going to start closing it. Riggsy says a 29.1 then. That's the fastest lap of the race. Let's see what Jason does.
29.9.
29.9. So it's only 8 tenths
getting closer,
slower
isn't
than
it?
Riggsy. It is definitely getting close. I think it will be Inters before the end of this race. I think it will.
Well, there's still not long
There's
left
less
to go
than
in the race yet, though.
Yeah, there's less than a second between the tyres. I mean, there's 10 laps to go. And less than a second between the 2 tyre compounds. I don't know if you want to maybe just keep an eye on
Yeah, that's
Jason
exactly what I'm doing
to
right now.
see what sort of lap times he's doing. I mean, these front 3, they're not really, the gaps aren't really changing here. Preds is doing very well to keep these guys honest. I mean, I think he is generally a bit closer in the wet than in the dry. But again, up 8, having a fantastic drive, is the Ferrari driver. And obviously Riggsy has a time penalty as well, so it puts him right on the cusp of P2. Brindy down in 4th as well has a penalty, James. So, I mean, Riggs, even after stewarding, could still find himself in this championship battle. Maybe, I mean, maybe if he's not got a decent gap to Brindy, it could be worth him going for the Inters. Sem though, Brindy 28.6. That's a fantastic. That's really quick. I don't think Jason's going to be too near that, is he, James?
30.3. Yeah, 1.7 off. Yeah, still. It looked
maybe,
like they were getting there.
Maybe it won't be.
Yeah, it's still way too early, isn't it? Unfortunately. So yeah, I think that kind of just shows that it looked like a good call at the time from Clock, but yeah, just it's still way too early, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jason's gap to McEwen's not really changing a whole host though. Neither really. These gaps out front. Predator's losing a little bit of time now, but I mean, it's still kind of all within just around 3 seconds of one of the Brindy's starting to close the gap down as well, but does have a time penalty.
Jason's actually gaining a lot to McEwen now. 6.3 for the Haas driver through the middle sector. Jason 6.1, so a couple tenths gained so far this lap.
Yeah, let's see then. Riggsy's going to cross the line now. It's a 29.2 for him. Sem 29.3. Preds 29.3. Best lap of the race for him. Brindy crossed the line and is within a second of Preds. McEwen is 3 seconds back. Jason
30.1.
is 3.5, 30.1. So yeah, still kind of around that second difference for the intermediate compound tyres then. But he's still in a position where if it does become the Inters, he would take the lead, Jason. Albeit another time penalty that is for him. Yeah, ever since you mentioned it, James, I've been seeing Jason getting quite a few. Yeah, maybe it isn't going to be the Inters then for the end of the race. It's just not quite died down enough, the rain. I mean, it's been persistent throughout, but it's just not quite there, is it, for the Inters just yet?
No, not quite.
I mean, Ricci, I guess, will be hoping now that Preds can keep Brindy behind, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to, as Brindy's having a look into the stadium. Is he down the inside? That's a big lunge. Not really on. Preds trying to leave room, bit of contact made. Somehow Brindy was able to avoid another little spin there. He's got to be careful here. He doesn't really need to risk anything.
No,
really.
he's driving like he needs to win it tonight. It was a bit of a desperate lunge down the inside, wasn't it? Obviously, I mean, it would be great for him to win it tonight. Takes the pressure off him for the last 2 races, but he just needs to finish now. I think as it stands, well, at least Sem is beating Riggs either way, so it would only be about 6 points lost to Riggs at most.
Yeah.
I think he just needs
you say that,
keep
James, but
keep his head.
That gap between Sem and Riggs has increased by over a second in the last sort of 2 or 3 laps. So Riggs is really trying to gain some time on Sem and win this thing on track.
I mean, inadvertently here, this battling with Predators could potentially be losing Brindy more points than it would actually gain him if he got past him. Which is, yeah, a bit of a weird one to say, but if Riggs has a couple penalties, then yeah, could be losing him.
Yeah, I don't think Preds is slow enough to lose 3 seconds to whatever the gap, however many seconds of penalties Brindy has to him for the end of the race. And at the moment, he's still keeping behind. Brindy's going to have another look down into the stadium, but again, it's kind of the same as the last lap, where there's not really a move on, but he's trying it anyways. Sem now gets a time penalty, James. So if Riggsy does only have the 1 penalty, he's in the clear as it stands. Riggsy fastest lap, 28.5, so the pace is very much still there.
Someone needs to get on the
for
phone
the
with
wet
Brindy and tell him
tyres.
that there's 2 more races after this. He is driving like this is all or nothing.
It's a little bit aggressive considering the position that he's in. Or aggressive, should I say? Considering the position that he's in, obviously with that very sizable gap to Riggsy in the championship. But you know, he's trying to get that podium. He's really pushing for it. Unfortunately, Preds just hasn't quite got the pace to hang it with the front guys. Otherwise, he could have found himself in a race-winning position, which would have been incredible, really. It would have been one of those sort of feel-good stories, it has to be said. But nevertheless, a podium still very much on the cards for the Ferrari driver. The only driver without a penalty, apart from SLR McEwen, who's in P5 and actually starting to close in a little bit to this battle. So this, like you say, James, could really be hurting Brindley, because McEwen, if he can get within 3 of the Williams, could also gain a position on him. But he's going to be, I think, another look down the inside into the stadium for Brindley, is it? Not on this occasion. He thinks better of it, but gets very close to the back of the Ferrari through there. As I say, McEwen's closing the gap. Not really. I think his pace is pretty similar to that of Preds. So he's not really gaining too much time. He's got yellow flags down the second straight. I don't quite know what that's for.
Yeah,
Brindley then just can't find his way past Ferrari. And I've got really bad pins and needles in my foot.
Jason's finally decided that the Inters aren't the way to go, I think, unless he's clearing onto a set of wets, serving a 5-second penalty, and that's going to promote Liam back up into P7, I think. Yeah, it is.
It's a strange one. Could he not have just slogged it out to the end?
Yeah. Probably not. He has been on those Inters for quite a long time, though, to be fair, hasn't he? So, maybe they were getting into puncture range. Might be trying for fastest lap as well, potentially, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. So then, is it going to be 4th time lucky as Brindley hits the back of Preds through the middle sector, and he's lost the car, James, and he's into the wall.
How has he
he's
not
lost
lost the wheel?
Big chunk of his front wing, but not a wheel somehow. But that was just complete driver error, really, just pushing too hard and hitting the back of Preds and rearing off into the barrier. I think either way now, regardless of stewards or not, I think this race is going to be going to Brazil. This championship, sorry, is going to be going to Brazil, and it's really kind of all down to Brindley just trying almost too hard. You know, he's been brilliant throughout the season, not getting involved in battles and silly collisions, but I mean, I think he was obviously feeling the pressure or something, I don't know, because he was just really pushing to try and get past Preds and just couldn't find a way through, and it culminated in him hitting the wall.
Yeah, I'm really struggling to understand what his thought process is there, to be honest. He doesn't need to do that. He's just losing himself more points, and I mean,
you've got to think McEwen will get him now as well. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, if Riggs wins this race and Brindley ends up in P5, that's 15 points gained, so that'll put the gap down to 37 points. If Riggs has a good race next week, then I mean, it's far from over then, isn't it? Brindley would have just been better bringing the car home and minimising the damage loss, but yeah, kind of taking unnecessary risks here, really. And I hope for his sake it doesn't come back to bite him, because he's been pretty flawless throughout the whole of the season, but yeah, it just seems to be getting a bit impatient towards the end here.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got some pretty decent pace though, as McEwen actually has dropped off quite a way from the Williams since that mistake. So yeah, he's still got some decent pace as Brindley, but McEwen obviously got 3 laps to try and stay within 3 seconds of him, as I'm about to sneeze in a minute. Summoners is quite pleased with that as well. Says Brazil's a great place to win the championship anyway, so there you go. As obviously he found out last season. So yeah, Jason back out onto the wets and sets the fastest lap. So yeah, I think you're right. It was a good idea, James. It did look like at one stage it was going to be the Inters, but well, we were straight back onto the wets. It was kind of similar to Singapore in that sense, actually. It just didn't quite happen, did it?
Mm.
That's almost identical to Singapore because clocks went on the restart there as well. I mean, these wets are still pretty decent. Sem's actually up on his fastest lap of the race as well, so there's still life in the old dog yet by the looks of things. As we start the penultimate lap then with Riggsy round in the final corner.
I'd say this is probably a good time to ask the chat for who they think should be getting driver of the day, don't you, Harry? If you want to get the position changes up as well to help with that decision.
I can find it.
I think
there we are.
For me, Riggsy's obviously a good shout, but I think it's hard to look past Predators, to be honest.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think he'd be my driver of the day. It does look like it's going to be another podium for Aero Predators from the back of the grid, which he seems to be so good at doing. Whenever he is on the podium, it's usually a pretty special drive.
Has he had one yet this season, though?
I'm not sure if he's had one yet this season, but we've seen him do it in seasons gone by, haven't we? Around here as well, I think he got on the podium, or he got very high up from low down. No penalties, keeps himself out of incidents, and he's got consistent race pace. He doesn't make the mistakes that the others tend to do, and it always benefits him in the race. And that's why his championship position is probably a little higher than maybe his true pace. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying. He'd be the first to admit that his one lap pace probably isn't up to scratch, but he always does it in the race, doesn't he? He always finds a way to get himself into good position.
It's very rare he finds himself in incidents and in the steward's room, whatever. Avoids time penalties as well on track. So, it shows that it's not all about that raw pace. It's about keeping out of trouble and keeping clean. And again, as he has done many times before, he's going to reap the rewards this evening then, by the looks of things. As we started the final lap now then, McEwen has kept himself very much within 3 seconds of Brindy. So you'd imagine that he will jump the Williams driver, assuming everything stays as is. As it stands, we've only got the one vote for driver of the day anyway, and that is for Preds from Southerners, of course Ferrari teammates this season. As then we're gonna has Brindy's got another penalty.
I don't think that'll affect his position any more than the one.
Final few corners then on board with Riggsy, who is going to win the Mexican Grand Prix here in Division 1. As he crosses the line now, it's going to be Sem to come home in P1, as Riggsy had another penalty. So Sem actually wins the race. Riggsy comes home second. It's going to be Preds in third. Brindy spinning across the line
drops down to
take P5 it is, as McEwen goes up to fourth. It's going to be Elite in the Haas to take P6. He's up 7 as well from the start, so that's a good drive from him. We've got 2 votes for Preds driver of the day, both from Southerners. Unfortunately, only one of those counts. Elite then P6, so it's a good points haul for the Haas team. Combined 10 positions gained for them. Liam's going to come home 7th as well. Good drive from him to get some more points for the Alpha Tower team. Of course, yeah, drive through, couple of pit stops, some penalties here and there as well. We'll get the rest of the results in a second, but Preds gets driver of the day from the game as well, and I'm pretty sure he's going to get it from the viewers, as it's only Southerners that's had a vote, and I think we would also be voting for Preds for driver of the day, so well done to him. I guess we'll be speaking to him shortly anyway. So the championship, by the looks of things, is going to go to Brazil. However, these results are, of course, provisional, so that could all change. I'd say be sure to check out the socials, mainly Twitter, throughout the week in case anything does change. Otherwise, you'll be hearing, I guess, from us next Friday with any news. Bennett as well also voting for Preds, so I'm pretty sure that is confirmed. It was Jason who 3-stopped and came home 8th, despite having 24 seconds of penalties. So I guess that's a bit of a what could have been for him. Fastest lap as well. Clock was 9th after that spin. He was lapped. Czech was also lapped and comes home 10th after 4 stopping. But it is pole and the victory for Sem, although it was far from as straightforward as it perhaps seems. From Rigsy, who ends up 2nd with Preds in 3rd. I'll hand it over to James then for podium interviews. Just make sure you've all ticked your boxes.
Alright then, yeah, we'll start with your 3rd place man, Aerial Predators from P11 on the grid, up 8 places, doing what you tend to do so often, keeping out of trouble, avoiding penalties, and yeah, that little bit of pace over some of the others in the wet as well. Yeah, bringing you up onto the podium. You really seem to go well around Mexico, and yeah, you've done it again, and it's, I think, first podium of the season.
Yeah. So first, normally I scored a podium in the first half of the season, based on the past 2 seasons. Mexico does seem to have a bit of luck for me, but with the wet as well and safety cars and the multiple incidents with people ahead, I just kind of kept my nose out of it and just waited for them to kind of do their thing. Second safety car ended up behind, obviously Sam, Riggs and Brindy, and Brindy and Sam had a bit of a coming together, and then I had a bit of a coming together with Brindy, and I'm just happy to have finished mostly, but the podium's really nice. It's been, I think, a long time coming. I've been so close a couple of times, and I'm just quite happy now that I finally managed to get another one under the belt.
Yeah, it was a very good job from yourself. It looked like at one point maybe could be on for more than 3rd place after the safety car restart, but yeah, I think that little bit of a battle with Brindy, as you said, maybe spoil any chance of that. But yeah, either way, up 8 places, drive of the day as well, and yeah, a podium for the first time this season is a very good job.
Thank you.
Right, we will move on to your 2nd place man, who was Rigsy. Lost it by just over a 10th in the end. I'm sure it would have looked a lot nicer for you if you think 15 points gained on Brindy, but instead it's just the 8, brings it down to 44 before Stewart or anything like that. But yeah, you have done what you needed to do in that regard anyway. Got it going till Brazil next week. Yeah, just talk us through your race, because it looked like a pretty eventful one from start to finish.
My fucking head went. It just went. Like, honestly, I fucking sorry, I need to stop speaking. But I just want to say congratulations to Preds and Sam for the podium, but the state of the race just wasn't kind to us. The penalties were just stupid, and I'll not comment too much on some of the things that might have been picked up, but if we stay where we are, that's absolutely fine. It helps the championship, but it was bitterly disappointing not to win it, like it is every other time. But there's no really much I can really say. I can so much happened, but see when you're trying to like just sit and like concentrate and build the gap, and then Sem was right there. Like there was, like I'll no hide the fact that there was like across the board some questionable standards, but and I'll put myself in that, but to end up where I was, like I did fancy my chances in the rain when I found out it was wet, and it was kind of killer for our race because we couldn't get by Brindy on the first stint, and he's doing everything he needs to do for the championship, and I'm just looking for a way by when I felt like I was quicker. And then obviously safety car came in, fresh set of wets. The wets just died at the end, and I thought I'd done it, but it was not meant to be.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with you in that sense. But down to 44 points. I mean, it's not going to be easy, is it? But you always go well at Brazil. I'd say you're pretty quick around there. So I mean, I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but I think you do need to win next week. Obviously, yeah, the victory tonight, as you say, would have been nice. But I think either way, you can hold your head up high after the season. Put in the fight to Brindy right to the end. I mean, obviously it's still going, isn't it? But yeah, I mean it's a long shot. I'm sure you'll
It's like actually there was honestly for like 80% of that race, it was pretty much in his bag, wasn't it? Like I don't know what happened to him, because when the safety car restart happened, and I was I was saying to I sat in a pity with Preds and Check anyway, and I want to just apologise to the pair of them for every bad word under the sun and shouting when they're trying to concentrate on their own races, and I don't want to like ruin like their races and like their concentration. But as soon as I get by Sam, I had to pull the gap, and it was a matter of we kind of got into a bit of luck with the penalty. It meant it was definitely on, but we didn't do ourselves favours with the penalties. You can't see shit in the spray. Like that's all that was. It was just turning in a wee bit too early or drifting a wee bit too wide, and it was that's honestly that's how detrimental it can be. And I don't want to talk too much about it. I want to wait until these results are obviously confirmed. So, bye. Brazil, fancy the chances, but I think Brazil's kind of where it ends.
All right then, yeah. Still, either way, another podium to add to your collection for what has been a fantastic season. We will move on to your race win event, pole and a race win, but did it the hard way. I'm sure you'll admit. Is of course SLR Sem puncturing the first stint as well. We were pretty surprised to see that just as you were about to pit, but yeah, just getting the win by just over a tenth, I think it was in the end on penalties over the line. But I'm sure you'll be pretty relieved to get another win after quite a long wait. I think since China, I think it is.
Well, I mean, if I'm honest, like the win is great. Obviously, like first win since Spain, but it's one of those races where just like so much happened. Like I was making so many mistakes at the start of the race. Obviously, just not having the racing line, not having done a lap in the wet here for about 3 months or so, probably since last season in practice for last season's race, just missing every single braking point, locking up absolutely everywhere, just all over the place really, just a few times at the start of the race where it was just really difficult to keep the car on the track really, and just get around. The conditions were treacherous, and I was the one that had no spray. So I can't imagine what it'd be like for everyone else behind me, but it was grim, absolutely grim. Then yeah, safety car restart, tires stone cold, nearly lost it coming out the final corner. Me and Dylan went side by side, and like there was we went side by side, and like we had like a little bit of contact. It was kind of like his front nose to my rear wheel kind of a thing, and just like I tried to leave him space, but he obviously span round, and actually like he invited me to a party, so I was in the party with him at the time, and just sort of apologised to him straight away. But I don't know, felt like a funny one. And then obviously what happened with Brindy as well, again pretty much an identical kind of incident. And then head kind of went a little bit when Riggsy tried the move. There was a bit of I guess you say rubbing his race in between the two of us. I thought he squeezed me a bit. Then I perhaps shouldn't have stuck my nose in the following corner, but luckily neither of us crashed. And then at the end of the race, picked up a careless penalty, and suddenly a 2.5 seconds to Riggs with him having 6 and me having none. and being quite comfortable became, oh god, I've got to nail every single lap. Made a couple of mistakes, and suddenly the gap was around 3 seconds for the last 5 laps. Fair play to him. I don't know how he didn't get a puncture, because I was on about 80% wear near the end of the race, and he pitted a lap earlier than me. And I know we're both pad, obviously, so we're going to struggle on the wear more than the wheel runners. But yeah, it was just sweaty till the end of the race, and I am happy to get the win, but it does feel a little numb, if I'm being honest, given how many incidents happened in that race.
Yeah. Either way, though, it was a fantastic drive. Obviously, a good pace from yourself, and yeah, just about doing enough to get over the line within the 3 seconds you needed. I think that'll do it then, Harry, for the podium interviews for what has been a pretty manic Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race then, which saw Sam take victory, as he said, first one since Spain there, with Ricci keeping the championship alive, coming home in P2. Preds as well, showing his hard work's paying off with a podium for another one for his collection here in SLR. But that is all we've got time for this evening. Be sure to join us throughout the rest of the weekend, where there are more championships to be won. And then we will see you next week in Brazil. First off with the return of F2, but then for Division 1 on Friday, where again the championship can be won. But thank you all for watching. Thank you to all the drivers as well that participated this evening for another great race. But that is all we've got time for this evening, and good night.